2. We've only been in this book for about 3 months, but we're on lesson 2. I checked with Eugene, and we are on page 26. And we are down to conquest over the cares of the world. And Laura, I'm going to start with you, but on that, read down to the end of those first 2 paragraphs there. And if you will, Amy, look up Mark 4:19 and Matthew 13:22. And then when you get to those, she will read those before we go.
Conquest over cares of the world. Many who successfully resist sinful pleasures succumb to the cares of the world. The daily pressures of keeping a house, rearing a family, and making a living can so completely overwhelm a person that God is crowded from your heart. Mark 4:19.
And the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, and the desires for other things entering in, choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Matthew 13:22. Now he who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful.
I want you to know that, in my opinion, we, with all of our modern conveniences, we, with all of the technology in the world, we are the busiest women in history. And doing what? You know, I know it's a shock to all of you, but I am old. And I can remember, I can remember carrying water. I can remember outside plumbing. I can remember when women ironed everything that touched anybody in the family. And the tablecloths and the pillowcases, and I can remember the clothes hanging on the line. What do we do? Push a button, and then what? And so it is of concern to me that we are so busy. And then I ask myself, because even I, who don't do anything, am just busy as I can be. There's something on the agenda all the time. Busy doing what? Are we busy doing God's will? Now, I'll say these young mothers, they're busy. But those of us, others, what are we so busy doing that we have to schedule time to go see somebody? Have to schedule time to check on someone? Oh, but we can check Facebook. We can check the news. We can check all this technology. But how often do you check on one another? I'm just saying, this may be, for women, one of the biggest temptations we have.
I think to go along with that, a lot of in today's, what keeps us so busy is trying to, the quote, keeping up with the Joneses, because you see everything, and it's the curse of social media. So you think, oh, I have to do it this way. And you have women that have have everything perfect. But then on the flip side, you have women that, oh, you can't eat this, and you can't eat that, and this kind of chemical's bad, and so then you have to try to do that, and we keep ourselves so busy that it's so distracting we don't have time for it.
And I want you to know, this could be envy. Now, I don't know, it could be. I've been overweight all my life. I've lost 1,000 pounds. 10 pounds at a time and gain back 12. But I'm telling you, if we ever get to the point that we spend as much time worried about doing God's will as we do what we eat, how long we exercise. I'm just thinking of people say, well, now I exercise at least an hour a day. And I can't help but think, do you read or pray or devote an hour a day to God? Oh, well, we're too busy for that. Really? Anybody else? I'm the only one that feels that way. Well, I told y'all I was old. All right, Laura.
Conquest over material possessions. Material things were put on earth for man's good and enjoyment by the living God, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy, and are therefore not evil. However, one constant battle in our materialistic age is learning to keep a proper balance between material and spiritual values. One big lie which Satan has sold the world is the idea that the abundant life is found in material things. Christ says, "For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth." But many, like the rich fool, do not find out until too late that Christ is right and Satan wrong.
And Laura mentioned this, the keeping up with the Jones. I want a newer car than you have. I want a bigger house than you have. I at least want one as big or as new. I want to be in the same social circle you are. I want to, and all of these things are so vain. There's not anything wrong with having possessions. But I'm telling you, there's something wrong with having possessions whenever you neglect the important things. And I want to know, I don't want you to tell me, I want you to know. When it comes to what you spend on wants, not needs, wants, how does that compare to what you give to God? Where's your sacrifice? And I'm telling you, almost to a person here, we give of our abundance. We don't. It's not a sacrifice. What are we giving up? None. It's a two-edged sword there, it really is. Amy, and let's see, Christy, look up 1 Timothy 6 and 10 so that you can read that once you get there.
Whether one has much or little is no indication of his relationship to God. The Bible portrays the wicked poor and the righteous rich, the righteous poor and the wicked rich. But one's attitude toward material things can affect his relationship to God. 1 Timothy 6:10.
For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
The love of money. You know, when I read the scriptures, yes, I read of a few poor people, but I read how rich Abraham was, and how rich Lot was, and how God blessed those kings and made them, Solomon's daily portion was more than 10 years of an ordinary man's life. The riches that God bestowed on those. But then I look at Abraham, and we talked about this last week, that whenever Lot was leaving, he said, choose where you want to go. He had raised this boy. He had made him all of this wealth. But it's your choice. You choose. I'll take what's left. That attitude is the attitude that saves a rich man. It's not wrong to be rich. What's wrong is how you got it and what you did with it. And if those two things are okay, then being rich is okay. How you get it, what you do with it. All right? Go ahead, Amy, and do the next paragraph, but wait. Christy, Matthew 13:22 and Proverbs 30:8 and Isaiah 8:21.
13, what was it? Matthew 13.
22, Proverbs 30:8. Isaiah 8:21. When you get to those, stop for her to read those.
Temptations attend both poverty and wealth. Poverty may intensify the cares of the world, while the deceitfulness of riches may tempt one to worldly satisfaction, and both can stifle the spiritual heart. Matthew 13:22.
Now he who receives seed among the thorns is he who fears the Lord, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful.
Poverty may tempt one to be dishonest. Proverbs 30:8.
Remove falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food allotted to me.
Envious, bitter, and resentful, and these sins can destroy the soul. It may tempt some to blame God or the government for their plight and thus lead to sin. Isaiah 8:21.
They will pass through it hard-pressed and hungry, and it shall happen when they are hungry that they will be enraged and curse their king and their God and look upward.
The poor may be tempted to discouragement, which can sap one's energy and curtail the good he could do otherwise. On the other hand, wealth can lead one to be high-minded, thinking himself better than others. It can tempt one to trust in himself and his riches rather than God, which can lead to forgetfulness of God. 1 Timothy 6:17 and 18.
No, we're good.
Both the rich and the poor may be guilty of covetousness.
And you know, I'm thinking there again. We have some guilt here. We do. I'm telling you, if a family moved in next week and started attending at Westside, would we feel any different if the family was homeless, struggling, needed help? Or if the man had just accepted the, I don't know, superintendent of schools, and he and his family were upstanding citizens? We read that scripture that says, don't judge on that. But sometimes, is there something in us that will quickly tell our neighbors, well, that new superintendent of schools attends church where I do. Do we also say that man you see on the corner attends church with us? And if he does, why is he on the corner? I'm just saying, we like to read these things and, well, yeah, we understand that. But then if we apply it to what we think, and remember, as Catherine always says, we live in our mind. And that attitude that we have, that what we think can be as great a sin as any of the other sins listed. But we don't look at it that way. We don't look at it that way. Just all. Christy, will you do the just that next paragraph first? And will you look up Mark 10 and 23 and 1 Timothy 6, 18 and 19?
Just victory of death,
I'm sorry?
just the victory of
Just the blessings
yes, ma'am. Blessings can accompany both poverty and wealth. It is difficult to win the battle over wealth. Mark 10:23.
And Jesus, looking around, said to his disciples, "How hard will it be for those who are wealthy to enter the kingdom of God?" Into the kingdom of God, sorry.
Therefore, one who applies God-given talent to acquire wealth and then uses it properly deserves an extra measure of commendation. For riches enable a Christian to do so many good works not otherwise possible. 1 Timothy 6, 18 and 19.
Encourage to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, storing up for themselves the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is life and beauty.
A blessing can also be derived from poverty if it is used to promote a forward trust in God.
material possessions. This is what all of this section is talking about. Is this our goal? You know, we might think of Christians who've lost everything in war or storm. Do we believe even if they lost their life that God has forsaken them? You know, we've got to channel our thoughts on the fact that these things are temporary. And we think of how tragic it is to lose life. Well, it is tragic for the family, but it is certainly not tragic for the Christian. If you were to talk about someone inheriting $1 million and all that it could do wouldn't compare with heaven. I'm not going to say you. I don't think my thoughts are always on eternity. I don't think that I think of my success and failures in view of eternity, but whether or not I made or lost money. These topics should be serious to us.
I read a book, and I'm sure, I don't remember all about the book, I'm sure I've heard of it, but it's called The Screwtape Letters. But in that book, it's basically the devil training one of his demons how to get this guy out of the world. And one of the things I heard this 20 years ago that stuck to me was he said, okay, don't make him do something bad, just distract him with things and with things in life, and just start by distracting him, and that's how you win them all. And it shook me to my core, and I'll never forget that.
And the distractions are the glittery things of the world.
In this book we're using, which I love, I was 3 years old when it was written, and things haven't changed a whole lot since then. I mean, it's
Intensified, perhaps.
yes.
Intensified, perhaps. Because I will tell you, I keep thinking Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. And sin, you can find it, descriptions in the scriptures, but I'm telling you, when I look at our world today, ruled by a rainbow flag, ruled by drag queens doing things for our schools, reading stories in our libraries to our children, and they're celebrating that. when I look at the things that they're teaching, don't assign your baby a gender. Wait until it's old enough to decide what it wants to be. And that can be 3 or 4, and we'll fix it right then. I want you to think of what we're facing. I would have never imagined the day that I would be doing this. I've never imagined it. When every paper or thing is celebrating some celebrity that is having a child of this one or not having one of that one. There was a cartoon I saw, and this little boy said to the other one, I heard you had so-and-so for your new daddy. You'll like him. We had him last year. But it's how it is. But then I have a question. Where is our influence? What are we doing?
It has to be what it felt like to me when I was with Solomon Gomorrah. I mean, yes, we have new technology that tempts us every single day, but it had to be the same. I mean, they were seeing the exact same things. We just kind of thrown in our face a little bit more.
And another thing, we need to go back and we need to read what happened to Solomon and Gomorrah.
I've been very surprised as I've been substitute teaching, and I knew it, but very few have intact mother and father still married. About half of them are being raised by their grandparents or grandmother, and it's just really shocked me because I've been kind of sheltered. And, yes, and that's a very small country school with a lot of good values in the teachers, and but it's just very shocking to see how the sinful nature of life has just been accepted.
And then, so I want to ask this. So, Laura, your children are in that school. Katrina, your children are in that school. So, what would happen if they announced next week that the story hour this week was going to be done by drag queens?
That would apply currently at our school, thankfully. But
No, but what if? I'm not talking about what that school would do. I'm talking about what would you do?
yeah,
So you have to be prepared to do that. And I'm wondering, what are these other parents thinking?
But it's okay. You do you.
Yeah.
When we put our kids in school, we had the discussion with each other that not because Gage has a teacher he doesn't like, we wouldn't pull him out of school, but we said very clearly we were both open to if anything like that came about, we would pull him out without hesitation. We both agreed upon that before we ever even started.
Absolutely. And I know Katrina and Travis did that where they lived before because there wasn't a good school.
well, and that's part of the reason I am there now, is so that I know what's actually going on. I know the people who are teaching them, because you never get the full story from your kids, you know?
Lots that you sit a representative.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to be shade by that at all, no.
Well,
No, but it's helpful to know what they're dealing with every day.
with your children.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely. Betty, do you have something?
I had to straighten my glasses up so maybe I can see you.
Oh, okay. If that's all you have to say, we'll skip it. Go ahead then and read down to the end of the page.
Alright, I forgot my book anymore. Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? But thanks be to God, which which giveth us the glory through our Lord Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians 54-57. Death is the final struggle of mankind, but we can be victorious. How? Only through Christ. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Psalm 116:15. Those who have followed Christ through his life can walk with him through the valley of the shadow of death and into his eternal home. Truly, great is your reward in heaven. Matthew 5:12. Greater than we can imagine.
And finally, we are to the questions. You want to do, y'all don't even have it. Have you got the answer there so that they can see?
Which one? Yes, I have one.
No, I
do have the answer.
Let your mom mess that. Question number 1, read it and read Amy's answer.
This is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. 1 John 5:4-5.
Even our faith that overcomes the world. Our faith overcomes the world. Does that mean the world as a whole? No, it means our world. Our faith is what overcomes what the world throws at us. And these very things we've been talking about, we have to stand firm. And I am telling you, the way that they began this, as I look back, because remember, I've been there, I've seen a few things. They started this by teaching tolerance and acceptance. And tolerance and acceptance from kindergarten on. Tolerance, acceptance. To where we have trained people to believe there's something wrong with them if they oppose. Oh, suddenly you are racist. Suddenly you are intolerant. And we kept silent. We didn't fight it then.
I saw something today that said, when the world is literally parading sin through the streets, we better not be bashful peeking out through our windows. If they're going to be in the streets, we better be
In the street combating.
Yes.
And it's hard. Well, I might lose my job. Well, I might, who knows, somebody might sue me. Yeah, they might. But if that happened, whatever the judgment was, it wouldn't be as bad as the judgment of God if we don't. Losing your job does not compare with losing your soul. But I'm telling you, we have been conditioned.
I was listening to somebody the other day, and they are living this particular sin, and I said, there's no way I accept your sin, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. I said, your sin is what I hate.
Exactly.
Your lifestyle and your sin, and I just want you to be aware that I do not accept it, even though I love you. You know, and that's the only way I know how to handle situations like that, is to tell them it's the sin that you don't like. And, you know, talking about tolerance and stuff. This is what God says is wrong. That doesn't mean that's against you, so to speak. If that's what I don't like.
Well, they'll blame you. You hate, no, I don't, God does. And so therefore
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we are also, this is the thing all of us need to practice. When something is said about, what do you believe about this or that or something? You don't say, well, I believe this or that. You say, well, God said. That's what it means to give an answer to every man that asks you what God said, not what you think.
And we're shown that example in the New Testament when they tried to trap Jesus. He said, it is written.
Exactly.
But we have to know our Bible so that we can say
In this old timey stuff I was telling you about that I actually remember, I also remembered when the Church of Christ was described as walking Bibles. Don't talk to the Church of Christ. All they want to do is quote Scripture. But it might offend someone. I might lose a friend. I might make them mad. I might be excluded from that group.
I was listening with somebody one time about baptism, and we were just talking, and I said, I can't find a scripture that they were saved before they were baptized. I said, if you will show me a scripture that just believe me and then you're saved, I will believe you. And she goes, well, there's probably not one there, but I don't care.
Exactly.
Okay, then you.
Exactly. And the favorite saying is this. Well, I know it says that, but. I know it says that, but. That's not what it means. What do you mean that's not what it means? That's what it says. You know? And so, it's things for us to think about. And number 2, Eugene, can you do that one?
Through Christ, we have gained strength and power to overcome the obstacles of life, including sin, temptation, sorrow, discouragement, doubt, despair, persecution, fear, anxiety, and the list goes on.
All right? In this, she added to that doubt, distressing circumstances, cares of the world, and possessions. And I think we have covered those, but again, I want to stress that cares of the world and possessions. And I don't think there's a one of you going to leave here tonight and go have an affair. I don't think one of you is going to leave here and go get drunk. But will you do any of these things? What about doubt? You know, we kind of covered that, but I'm going to tell you, that doubt, is it really like that? And Jim's class is going to cover a lot of that tonight. I'm just telling you, in Laura's prayer, she mentioned the glories of nature, the sunset, I believe is what we mentioned, the colors of the year. How can you doubt? Where do you think all of this comes from? We don't have that much order in our life for a day, but there was an eclipse Monday night or Tuesday morning or something. It was foretold for weeks ago. I read about it and sent it to Jim. And it said there won't be another one for 3 years. I'm telling you, if we cook bacon and eggs for breakfast, we can't predict whether or not when we'll have them again. God's world is so precise. You can tell what time it's going to have that eclipse, and when it'll do it again, and when it did it last time. You tell me another thing that's that certain. Doubt is Satan's, one of his favorite tools. If you can put an edge of doubt in your mind. But if we believe this earth is real, if we believe we're real, heaven and hell are real. Because the same book that tells us where we came from is telling us where we're going. You can't believe one without believing the other. Well, this hasn't been a very upbeat lesson, has it?
Yes, it has.
I'm gonna have to change my tune here. I've just got a few minutes here to change my tune. Number 3, Deshae, can you do number 3?
Nope, I don't have anything written in my book, so.
Well, then I'll skip you. How about you, Karen? Okay, how about you, Betty?
I don't have it. She was Jason.
To whom is this promise given? Thou shalt mount up with wings as eagles. God's people, those who wait on the Lord. And if I can read my writing, that's in Isaiah 40:31.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, I wrote this down here because it is so amazing to me. That phrase, those who wait on the Lord. Do you have a guess as to how many times the word wait is in the Bible? Give me a guess, Laura.
Over 400?
885. Yeah, you were close. Those that wait on the Lord. And our time is getting close to being up, and I've got some other things I've got to say, so I'm going to tell you. We're going to quit right there, but this week, and I won't ask you about it next week. I just want you to do it. I'm Xing it. Eugene, be sure you do, so I'm check with you. I want you to look up the phrase, wait on the Lord, and see some of the things we're waiting for. What wait on the Lord means to wait on the Lord. Okay, next week, ladies, is our last class. We normally, this would have been, because